dig it.
I can dig it. How you doing?
Great. Here we are. Have you dried your tears yet? Your post-election tears?
I haven't dried any tears, and I'm just grateful the country isn't burning.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, yeah, I feel for those feeling still sad, etc., etc. But watching Jimmy Kimmel cry on air was too funny.
Did that happen?
Yeah, he like got on air after the election and like choked up, like talking about how it was a horrible night for various groups, and then
Holy cow.
started crying.
Wow. No, I
Yeah,
did not. Thankfully, you know what I decided to do the following day is not watch really anything.
yeah, it's good. It's a good call.
Yeah. And guess what? My life went on.
I can't believe it.
Kevin Miller, welcome back to the Grit for November 8th, 2024.
Thank you very much for having us. Well, the group, John can't make it, unfortunately, but I mean, collectively, he's here in spirit.
You're
So
representing
good
the
to see you,
entire
Kevin Miller.
festival.
You got eyes on that?
On what?
On my 53-year-old good looks?
Oh yeah, I got eyes directly on.
Good. All right.
We can see you and hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to the show, and I'm excited to see you next week in person, in the flesh, man.
It's been a while.
Long, far too long.
What would you reckon was your last trip here? What year?
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, pre-COVID, like 18 or 19, I want to say.
That's crazy. When you think about it like that, that's 5 years.
It's been too long. Obviously, I've seen you out in California and stuff from time to time, but it's like you never age. Honestly, you look fantastic.
That's what I like to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Buttering me up, man. Okay, well, have you spoken? I want to know what's going on. What are you showing next week? And you're in a new venue, obviously, than last time I was there. Give listeners the rundown of the Florida Surf Film Festival.
You got it. We had started off, 11 years ago with Atlantic Center for the Arts being our home, and it still is for filmmakers while they're here and jurors to spend some time, sleep there on campus. We've got 3 mentoring artist cottages there with the 28 housing units, and they've been gracious enough, even though we've moved the festival, to partner up with us for some housing. And it works out great because you don't change the experience of the filmmakers and the people coming, sponsors and things like that. It's just such a unique place set in the wetlands, 65 acres on the water with like close to the water anyway, but like it's really got that Florida feel, and you guys know you've been there. But then other than that, we've moved on to a larger facility. It's called the News Journal Center. It's in Daytona Beach on the river. Daytona State College owns the facility, and they've partnered with us in a big way too. For example, they'll be at the festival on Saturday night when Tom Curren is there playing with his son Pat and documenting all of the festival proceedings. And so they're going to shoot basically the School of Digital Media Production, headed by a guy named Brad Moody, who's been a huge fan of ours. Has involved the students in an integral way, learning the process of shooting a live event. And then, we'll have something after the event to remember this great, visit from 3-time world champ himself.
I know, it's crazy. So among the films showing at the festival over the next weekend are The Life and Death of Westerly Windina, Water Brother, the Tom and I documentary, which is the reason Tom Curren is coming out.
I'll correct you real quick, Dave, because Water Brothers showed in August. It's part of the slate of juried films that you received along with Charlie
Got it.
take a look at. You're giving your votes on those hopefully by this coming Wednesday, and we'll have awards. And it's obviously a great film, but unfortunately that will not be at this festival.
Gotcha. The one question I had for you was, I've been talking about some of this stuff on air on the show I do, Spit with Scott Bass. And ultimately people email and they're like, dude, where can we watch these films? They want to see Tom and I, they want to see Westerly. And I know every film probably has its own distribution plan and schedule and agenda, but is there any potential in the future for you to be able to open this stuff up for like worldwide viewing, maybe just for that weekend so that everybody can participate in the festival?
Great question, David Lee Scales.
I know it is a good question, and we would be really fortunate to have the permission from the filmmakers to distribute it in such a way, and then actually maybe collect some income and remit it to them on the back end if that did work out. We haven't explored that, mostly because John and I are we have full-time jobs. Basically, this has become more full-time for me, but John has a full-time job, you know, at least right now he does. And the amount of time you can devote to gathering permission from these folks for other platforms online is too great to justify the benefit for us right now.
Totally.
If I had a full-time job doing this, that would be something I would look into. We do on our brand new website, thanks to Tom Macaluso. He's just an incredible visionary. He's created a really cool new website for us. In the festival section of the website, we have an archive of all the past award winners for the last 11 years. They are not linked up totally yet. I need to stick an intern on that and say, hey, link up everything if you can, even if you have to purchase it and support the artist at a, you know, at some, whether it's iTunes or HBO subscription for momentum generation or what, you're going to be able to find these movies somewhere. And we've at least provided a list, a starting point. But to your point, these movies we're showing in November are largely unreleased, and they're looking for either a distribution agreement with a Netflix, Amazon, or something like that, or they're looking to do further dates and draw live audiences and get that festival experience and the press and the attention from influencers like yourselves and other people who, yes, you know, they want to hear, they want the buzz to be created. The Hobgoods did this that way, you know, with and Justin Purser with 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗋𝐶. It's just all these, everybody has a different plan, but they're all pretty similar in that they try to reserve some time for the festival screening to create some buzz. And then when it does finally hit a platform, you've maybe heard about it before, or, you know, you click on it.
That's the best case scenario, of course. But I got to be honest, in the time that I've been involved with you guys, there's probably the majority of them don't end up on a major platform. And I don't know where they even end up at all, or if they're even public on YouTube at a certain point. If the filmmaker just decides eyeballs might be better than nothing at all. And that's where I would love to be able to kind of unearth those things and alert people to them, because even those ones are phenomenal, you know, and worth watching.
And we try to provide, I need to do a better job, but we need to provide guidance for you folks out there who want to see them. Like the archive is a good spot to start. It's not totally buried on our website. You got to go in there and, you know, check the year, and you'll see a list of all those movies. If it won an award, it'll be detailed. And
sweet.
Yeah, it's just like these movies are fantastic. We showed a movie called Channel Man, Cole's Story in June.
I know.
Nick Capelli made that movie, and it's incredible the way, you know, I like those deep technical documentaries that not like a non-surfer or an aspiring surfer wouldn't really enjoy. Was it the most crowded event we've ever had? No, but it was, we were eating it up because it was all the people talking about how channel bottoms worked, how they improved surfing, how much better Cole Smith looked in the water and making turns in critical areas. And like, I eat that up, but then you have your more broadly, not like Water Brother. Obviously it's a story that includes surfing, but everybody, whether you're a surfer or not, are going to enjoy it. So we try to keep that mix very real for people. It's the curation of each night is in fact something we pay a lot of attention to.
Well, the Cole Smith story is a great example because I'd never even heard of him growing up in Southern California, but he was such an iconic figure in Australia. And the filmmaking itself isn't as high production as Water Brother, let's say, but the storytelling is every bit as relevant. And even they have all the archival footage. They get interviews with world champs, you know, I think Mark Richards, Tom Carroll, Nick Carroll. So they got
Derek is in there.
That's right. Yeah. Derek is in there. So there's all of this information that is super valuable to me as a 43-year-old who's super interested in surfing that I never had access to before. So good on you. Kudos. We've told you this in the past, but kudos to you guys for creating a repository for all of this stuff that would otherwise go unseen.
You know, I'm a surf movie nerd, and I've been lucky enough for the people of New Smyrna Beach and Volusia County to patronize this thing because it doesn't exist without them. And we've also had incredible support from sponsors that we we grew to get to know over the years. I just got off the phone with Mike at Yeti, and they're on board for 2025. It's just that continuing support. Surfing's Evolution and Preservation Foundation, who support our Surf Stories podcast and now the festival, like they step up. This thing doesn't like I can't totally devote all my time voluntarily to this, and it's been a labor of passion and but don't get me wrong, I enjoy all 10 emails I've sent you guys in the last 4 days to remind you to get your votes in.
Those
I
are
love,
helpful.
yeah. Oh, I
Thank
love,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So couple of questions. What is the ticket price? How do people get in? And then what surf celebrities will be there next weekend?
Okay, so the ticket price and we say ticket, but it's really a pass for the entire evening. Individual movies don't have tickets at Florida Surf Film Festival. You buy a pass for the night and you get to experience everything for one night or 2 nights. It's Friday and Saturday, November 15th and 16th. The admission covers all the vendor booths. There's food at the event from Clancy's Cantina and Cafe Verde. The doors open at 5. One night pass runs $30. 2 night pass is 45. So you can kind of get a good feel get a little discount for both nights. We have some green room annual memberships. It's like $275. You get a Yeti cup, you get a t-shirt, you get admission to events all year round. It's a great deal. It's actually tax deductible over and above. Yeah, I won't get nerdy with you. I'm a CPA too. So, but yeah, the event itself has a patron pass. You can step up and pay like $135, I think, and you get the t-shirt and the Yeti, a poster, free membership to Encyclopedia of Surfing, and a discount on some other things. But it's like we've tried to make it affordable. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this move to the News Journal Center was make it more affordable for kids. And it was really hard for us to justify selling out, but like selling a cheap kid ticket, because we got the economics of the thing. We're running it for a little bit. Now I can sell a $10 ticket to a Volusia County kid with no Eventbrite fees, and it's like, that's who we want to try to bring in with these extra seats we have now, 850 seats versus 300.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of, I think, answers your question as far as like the celebrities that will be there, if you will. I'm obviously going to drop the mic. John is on Saturday night because Tom Curren, 3-time world champ, is the man that we've been looking up to all our lives. He's not a hermit, but he's close to that, like sort of, he shuns that public acknowledgement, I think, for the most part. But then he's really funny on the documentary, and Tom and I, he's also an excellent musician, and we're going to see him perform. Alan Sarlo will be there with this time capsule of incredible footage from all over California, maybe some Mexico too, with him narrating it. And it's like, it feels like he will be in the room, but it feels like really conversational the way he narrates that movie.
It's an interesting movie. And how great is that clip of him and Warshaw?
Yes.
Did you notice that? At one
Yeah.
point, he's like, "Oh, and here's me, Matt Warshaw." And I forget, there was one or two other like Dogtown guys.
Yeah.
And Matt was like 10 years old, 12 years old.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah. And Alan still rips. So it's good to have him there. Obviously, Jamie Brizik on a 10-year project that Scott Hewlett assigned him for the Journal on surfer Peter Druin, and, mentioning like, hey, you might want to connect with Peter. He might be transitioning to a woman. And, I won't give you the spoiler alert, but it is called The Life and Death of 𝗪𝗺 And it just pulled in best documentary, best film at Byron Bay Byron Bay Film Fest. So congratulations to those guys. Alan White, who also directed that with Jamie, has been working on that for years. And, I have to say, it's not an easy sell in a county that, and with transgender being a news item, especially in Florida. We've made it clear on the website, it's not necessarily a movie for kids. You want to come in prepared knowing what you're going to see, but it's an incredible story about a person.
Yeah.
It is not about an agenda or it's very apolitical. It's very much about, this very amazing person who invented man-on-man heats and has an incredible history with the sport that we love. So it's an interesting story. There's there's some great parts. Jamie's worked so hard. We've had him out already to talk about it. And then just a long shot here, not a celebrity, but 𝗖𝗂𝗿𝗶𝗀𝗃, who made a really funny short film. Switching that around, she plays Larry, the longboarder, in one of her hometowns in New Zealand, and it's really cute, really funny movie, 7 minutes long. So Tom and I is probably the cream of the crop for the festival because Tom's going to play right after it. But an unreal story about the relationship between Masahito Kito and Tom early in his career. He shot on video Tom at nearly every contest, followed him around the world, and they developed a friendship. And that friendship continues to this day. In fact, Masahito Kito will be at the festival with his wife. Tom's wife will be there, his son Pat, who will be on stage with him. The two folks who made the movie, Tom and I, Nilton Baptista, and Jeremy Pfeiffer will be there. So an incredible lineup both nights. Nate Laverty, who made Creatures of Habit, I saw that in Encinitas on the big screen at Taylor's Festival. He will be there with Ryan Huckabee. And it's just, British Columbia, cold, but also new footage that you haven't seen before, new waves you haven't seen, and some incredible surfing by Pete DeVries that so fully fulfills our need for surf action. That's kind of our main event when it comes to surf action.
Sweet, man. Just any stories about working with Tom Curren in order to get him to the festival? We all love a good Curren story.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, when I saw a strange email pop up in a group email that Nilton and Jeremy had facilitated, I sort of pinched myself. That can't be Tom's email. Are you telling me right now that I might have Tom Curren's email? One of those situations where you're like, when I first met Kelly or something like that. And I have not corresponded directly with Tom. He has a manager. He has his wife who helps take care of all this stuff. I have still not had 2 words with the guy, but yet we've arranged, we have to spend a little money to get him out here, but we've arranged to have the man come here. And you can tell already our ticket sales for Saturday night are flying off, the shelves. And it's like, that's going to sell out pretty quick, I think. And then, but Tom himself, just hunting him down over the last 4 to 5 years and just feeling out whether or not he'd even be interested in coming has been a series of emails. It's like I said, this job requires a lot of stupid emails and persistence. It sucks.
It's one of your strong suits, actually.
Well, yeah, how I am. Thank you.
Tell people, what's the website? Where do they go to get there?
FloridaSurfFilmFestival.com, and the ticket link is in the upper right-hand corner. You can learn more about the festival as you come down. We've got a great preview of Creatures of Habit by Nate Laverty right up there on the website. Our trailer will be dropping this week, designed by none other than Tom Macaluso, so you'll see that. That's where you get your tickets. We use Eventbrite. It's really easy. And yeah, you'll be set for this coming weekend.
All right, man. I'm flying out with 𝗪𝗏 and Sarlo. I cannot wait to see you guys. We will advertise it via social media to remind people of those things you just said.
Thank you for being on the jury, and thank you for your support as a board of director of the Florida Surf Film Festival, and for coming out and taking time away from your families to support what we do. We appreciate it.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right. Later, Kev. All right, Chaz. I'm going to play a phone call for you real quickly.
DLS and Chaz, this is Nick for The Grit calling in early Friday morning. Election week, I decided, you know what, let's dodge some of the early morning news. Go out to Lowers for a change. Never really get out there, but it was small. Figured I could maybe sneak into a couple. Paddle out, super clean morning, small crew, really good vibes. Nobody talking about the election. Oh, I should mention, this is the day after the election that I paddled out there. No talk of election whatsoever. It was a nice getaway from all that. Probably an hour and a half into the session, one Dino Andinp paddles out. Starts chumming it up with some of the local guys, they're just sitting in the pack waiting for the peak. And Dino just decides to dive into political talk. Completely harshes the mellow of the vibe. It was tragic, but you know what? Somebody has to bring up the Donnie trumpet in the lineup. So, yeah, I don't know what section this would be for, but feel free to chum it up if you'd like on election talk in the lineup. Cheers, guys. Keep work.
Boo on TV.
Dino. Where was your sensitivity, Dino Andino?
I know. No couth, man.
No couth. Dino. People were hurting, Dino. Hurting.
Trying to get a little reprieve from all of the chaos of the election by going and surfing, and here you go. Cancer in the water.
Dino, for shame.
How are you holding up?
I'm doing okay, David. I'm doing okay.
That's good to hear.
I'm in my community. I gotta say, and I don't want to be rude here. I don't want to be rude to anyone. I understand that there was a lot of emotions, let's just say, around this election. I feel we've done a fairly good job here, treading lightly. Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
like I don't think we're rude to either side, etc. Even though either sideism was getting people in big trouble toward the end there. Did you see? I think it was Chris Pratt, who we've discussed previously, wanting to be friends with, said something, wrote something like pre-election of like, yeah, I don't know, taking a like a middle ground stance, like a reasonable, hey, it's all gonna be well, whatever it was. I can't even remember, but it was like he just got lambasted for you and your both sidism. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel we're
Or
both siders.
you have the luxury of being both sided because you're privileged and it's not going to, you're not going to suffer or get kicked out of the country or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely that. How is your house holding up?
You know what? Same as always.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is it really hit a fever pitch, obviously, on election night. But the next day, we went to work, did our things, drove home. The freeway felt the same. The grocery store felt the same. Here we are a few days later. It's life as normal.
I feel the overwhelming sadness of Donald Trump 1.0 in certain communities and sectors and blah, blah, blah was a lot more severe than this time. I think the absolute drubbing that Kamala and the Dems got across the board, I think I don't know, and maybe I'm totally reading the room wrong, but it feels like that has made people less sad. People are like, oh, we really got whooped good. On we go.
I mean, that really is what it feels like. It's very definitive, and you just take your ball and go home.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
You know what's funny? I saw a news article. I don't know if it was authentic or not, or authenticated, but 𝗂𝗄𝗃 got 75,000 write-in votes.
Woo! I bet that is totally 100% accurate. It seems completely accurate, which, and I suppose too, not, that points to her somehow amazingly ongoing ability to stay relevant. I don't know how, but she said one thing and she's still somewhat relevant. Amazing.
Well,
good job, 𝗂𝗄𝗃.
I'm just glad to hear how seriously our country is taking the election.
I mean, but this is the problem. And I think, and maybe this is also why people, again, and if you are sad, I'm sorry. But I wonder if people are a little less sad because both choices were crap, I feel. And so what are you going to do? Like the crappy choice won or the crappy choice lost. And so you're like, oh, okay. I mean, 𝗂𝗄𝗃, here we go. Like, of course, and all this talk about I don't know how you walk this back now, right? Like all this talk about this is the most fundamentally important election in the history of the world. If, one side wins or the other side wins, right? Both were playing this game. Both the Trumpy and the Kamala were playing this is it. Our whole world is going to break in half if, it goes one way or the other on election day, and goes one way or the other on the election day. And nope, the world did not yet break in half.
Not yet. Stock market's up. That's for sure. Well, quote, presidential candidate Donald Trump ruse not becoming surfer on eve of election, end quote. Is this true grit or not?
He did. It is true grit. Did you read the actual quote? I'm going to read. So this is Donald Trump, and for context, the Donald Trump win or lose for him, the Donald Trump rally is over now, right? Like the Donald Trump rally was a thing pre 2016 victory, and then put like he really got his rally on. Really likes his rally. You could tell that it's almost like a musician at a concert. Like it's all the bells and whistles of that. I've never been to a Donald Trump rally, but it seems you have like or you have opening bands coming up doing their
Yeah.
talking, and then you get the big act Donald Trump who comes and like so he clearly likes all this stuff. And was sad about it on his last one. He got on stage and he was like, this is the last time we're going to be together like this. Because, if he wins, of course, then there's no more rallies. And if he loses, he's going to be too old to run again. So no more rallies. So he stood there gazing out into the audience and said, quote, "I didn't need this. I didn't need to be here with you tonight. I could have been standing on the beach, my beautiful white skin getting nice and tan, being smacked, being smacked in the face by a wave loaded up with salt water. And I could have said, the hell with everything. I could have had the greatest life in the world. Instead, I got missing a little piece of my ear." End quote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could have been, but let's go back to the minute. I could have been standing at the beach, my beautiful white skin getting nice and tan, being smacked in the face by a wave loaded up with salt water.
That is so amazing.
Yeah,
He's
that's what.
he's just vamping at all times, right? There's no way
Yeah,
anybody wrote that. There's no way he thought of saying that in
no,
advance.
yeah, no. He just was standing there and thinking about the beach. I mean, the odd thing is, I've never once ever seen Donald Trump at the beach or on the beach, right? Like, if he would have said, I could have been, I didn't need to be here with you tonight. I could have been on the golf course,
Yeah.
just hitting them down the fairway, or I could have been, I don't even know what
At McDonald's working the fry.
exactly. I don't know what else he likes. But he certainly does not appear to like the beach. But there he is. That's the dream. The dream that slipped away is getting smacked in the face by a wave loaded with salt.
Saw two funny memes that reminds me of this week. One was him handing the French fries out, when he went and worked the fry, and him going, "Hey, this is gonna be my last shift. I just got a promotion," basically. And then the other one was a stand-up comic with a one-liner, and he's like, "Have you ever been in so much trouble you needed to win the presidency?"
That's a good one.
Which is really funny.
Both of
It's
those
like a
are
joke
good.
you could only deliver once in your life, basically for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's it.
and that's it. I
Yeah.
wonder if old Donnie Trump is going to be depressed because you have all this buildup, all this tension, all this this name calling and the intensity of that, right? Like the name calling reached to the point of, he is a Hitler's, it's like
Yeah.
probably worse than Hitler. I mean, that's the fever at the end. I read somebody like lefty writing, I think it was on the Huffington Post where it belonged, but somebody writing about how, and she was not kidding, how Patrick Bateman is better than Donald Trump. Uh, and she was being deadly serious about it, which I get the comedic, but when you peel that back and say, okay, legitimately, you're telling me that a sociopath serial killer who like chopped women up in his room is that person is morally superior to Donald Trump, no matter how, Donald Trump, I don't think is a great dude. You have right on the eve. I can't believe it didn't get more play. Did you hear Jeffrey Epstein talking about Donald Trump?
Obviously, old archival footage of Jeffrey Epstein talking
Yeah,
about Trump.
it was like
No.
from a book, something like I think a book coming out about Epstein, but
Okay.
somebody has all these tapes of Epstein talking and released them. And it was Jeffrey Epstein, and this is like right before the election. Imagine this. Jeffrey Epstein is saying that he and Donald Trump were best friends for about 10 years, best friends. And then Donald Trump went and stabbed him in the back And Donald Trump does this to everybody. Epstein goes on and talks about how he's an awful person. He's a horrible person who doesn't know anything. He only knows about real estate, and that's it. He's not curious about anything, doesn't know anything. And so not only do you have Jeffrey Epstein on tape saying they were best friends for 10 years, which is absolutely damning. Everyone knows what Jeffrey Epstein liked to do.
Yeah.
And with what Donald Trump has publicly stated on the record, you'd have to think that Donald Trump was not opposed to what was happening in the Jeffrey
Right.
Epstein world.
Yeah.
So then you have that. And then you have Jeffrey Epstein, arguably one of the worst people in the world, calling Donald Trump one of the worst people in the world, like saying he will do anything for himself. He'll stab anyone in the back. Nobody's safe. Like, da, 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 da. An absolute damning character,
Yeah.
like from Jeffrey Epstein. But nope, it doesn't matter. People are like, woohoo, vote the dude. It's
Doesn't
crazy
matter.
to me. Crazy.
Doesn't matter at all.
Nope.
The in defense of the HuffPo writer, I don't know if this was her take or not, but Patrick Bateman, all of those serial killings were a figment of his imagination. So in the book, or I think even in the movie, at the end, it is revealed that he was imagining all of it.
I don't think that's what she.
Okay.
I
So
don't think. I don't
she's
think she
saying
knew
he's
the book
worse
well
than
enough.
he's worse than Bateman because Bateman only fantasized about it.
I don't think that was it. I think
Got
that
it.
the take might have been that he's worse than Bateman because Bateman killed people one person at a time or whatever. And look at Donald Trump is going to deport everybody and kill everybody or some. I don't know what her. I mean, she didn't get into it more than that, but
She misunderstood the
funny.
book completely.
Yes.
Well, here we are a week later or a few days later. All remains the same. We're still here pumping out podcast content. Follow-up, though, from last week is Sasha Jane Lowerson went and did it. OnlyFans. Her OnlyFans is active, Chaz.
Did you sign up David Lee Scales? Did curiosity overwhelm your prudence?
It did not. I mean, I have a certain journalistic obligation here, so I could have justified the spend that way. But the reality is I clicked over from her Instagram profile just to check. I was like, I wonder if she followed through with that. So I clicked her Instagram profile. There's 3 or 4 things you can click on in the bio line, and one of them was OnlyFans. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Clicked over. The imagery did not entice me to go any further than that. But I will encourage a listener. If anybody has any interest, go ahead, sign up for our OnlyFans, write your recap or call in your experience and share it with us.
What is the price tag on a one Sasha Jane Lowerson? Do you on OnlyFans, can you set your price or is it like a set price?
You can set your price. And then I think it said something to the effect of there is free content and then you could pay for the more salacious stuff.
Okay.
So, but listeners, go get it. If you're interested in that, go get it. And congrats on Sasha on the new career.
I mean, do you think that this was all part of a great media ploy by Sasha to open up the poll on Instagram? She was always going to do it. Do you think Sasha Jane Lowerson has a manager? Do you think she has somebody like a Colonel Parker that Elvis had, a circus ringleader who's saying, Sasha Jane, to the moon here, baby. We're going to do it all. We're going to start at the OnlyFans. Then we're going to make more money.
Let's hope it's not Colonel Parker. Solid impersonation, though. And no, I'm going to guess no management because it would have been rolled out a little bit more. I mean, you and I are the only ones talking about it. I feel like it would have made a bigger splash if she had a professional management.
It's crazy to me. I suppose what I'm doing as a journalist is waiting and seeing and taking the temperature of how far her reach is, because Derek Riley, this is right up his alley in terms of something to write about. He has written much about Sasha Jane Lowerson's journey in the past. The fact that he hasn't touched it or doesn't know about it makes me think that, yeah, Sasha Jane needs a bigger megaphone.
Maybe so. Well, listener DM'd and said, hey, a little behind watching the pod on YouTube, just to keep your OnlyFans theme going from Sasha J. I rode my bike down to Sunset Comp last week, and lo and behold, what did I see? Billy Kemper, literally with an OnlyFans sticker on the bottom of his board. The gift that keeps on giving. Keep work.
Thank you so much for reports from the field. And Billy Kemper's OnlyFans account we have discussed here, which is, didn't we discuss just theoretically about like skill stuff, right? Like how to tie your leash on if you're going out into big waves or
We did,
working
but
out.
I think that was all speculative before he launched the OnlyFans.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, but so you still have to wonder, uh, what is on, uh, like I feel we just did discuss it. Is OnlyFans a slippery slope? We discussed this specifically, I think. Is it a slippery slope? Do you go on doing your technical advice and whatnot, and then you got a fan who says, "Hey, do that with your shirt off, Billy." Like, and then you say, "Okay," and then, now you're actually down the slope. It's do it with your pants off, Billy. It's get rid of the surfboard, Billy, and bring in XYZ.
I think, yes, 100% that's what's going to happen. Nobody who goes to OnlyFans, I think the culture of OnlyFans is defined already, and there's no chance that Billy Kemper is going to redirect the culture into workout videos and have people paying a meaningful amount of money to continue doing that.
Yeah.
It'll be them prompting him to get with the culture and him either accepting it and embracing it and then making money, or staving it off and not making money and then getting off the platform.
It's funny, the move of sticking an OnlyFans sticker on your board, and clearly there was some sponsorship deal, for he's not just doing that for fun, obviously. So it's both OnlyFans and Billy trying to flex and saying we're more than porn, right? But
Yeah.
when your flex is so uh it's not more than porn. It is porn. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you made a porn platform and you could try to do whatever you want with it. You can pretend, but know, Billy Kemper, that anytime somebody sees you with your OnlyFans sticker on your board, they don't think, oh, instructional videos. They think,
Yeah.
there's Billy riding for a porn platform.
You're probably right. There was a transaction, um, sponsorship from OnlyFans to get that sticker on his board. But what if it was just the equivalent of when you see somebody driving around in their car and they have their Instagram handle on the side of their car on a sticker?
That would make me sad. It
It
would
would be
make
very
me,
sad.
it would make me sad. It would also make me sad if, or it could be like also driving your car and leaving on which I think 90, ooh, this is a good little one that we've never discussed. Uh, when you buy a car, do you keep on the either dealership or wherever you got it from's license plate ring? Like, does yours say Carlsbad Volvo or whatever?
No, hell no. Because
You take it
and
off right away.
take it off right away. And furthermore, I bought a car from CarMax one time and they put like a laminate, like an actual
Yeah,
sticker on the
they do.
paint,
You have
on the
to, you have
paint
to,
itself.
I know you have to peel that one off. That
I,
one stinks.
I took a wax comb. I didn't want to use a razor blade because I was worried about chipping the paint, but I took a wax comb and fully went up and took a bunch of time and scraped that thing off because I bought the car ready. I'm not paying to advertise your brand to every other driver on the road.
But is this a Billy Kemper situation though? Did he go buy not that he bought the surfboard, but is this a similar thing? Is it,
Like,
oh,
like when you buy an iPhone and they give you an Apple sticker, he
yeah,
signed up for OnlyFans and they sent him a sticker pack.
exactly. And he just pop on the board.
It's possible. I don't know. You and I know nothing. We don't know enough about OnlyFans to really be having these discussions.
No, that's what we need. Dear listener, do you think is because I feel if you like regularly visit Pornhub or something like that, you're not going to publicly talk about it, right? You're not going to be
Right.
like, oh man, I saw the craziest thing on Pornhub last night. Uh, but OnlyFans, does it have like a more genteel sheen? Like, could you theoretically say, ooh, last night I was on OnlyFans and I saw the wildest thing?
Yeah, I think it does slightly. I think
Like, would you judge if you overheard a conversation, somebody said, man, saw this thing on OnlyFans, dot, 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 dot. Would you say, you a little porn addict? Or would you think, oh, okay, cool.
I think option B, to be perfectly honest, I would not judge. I'd admire their um honesty
Yeah.
to a certain degree. Like I also think that the curtain has been peeled back on the whole porn conversation just as a whole. You know what I mean? Like when you see the statistics of they're the ones who are earning the most, like when it comes to like payment processing platforms. And they put out a statistic of like which industries do the most business. And it's like porn does 3 times the amount of Amazon or something like
Yeah.
that, you know? Or that's the reason VHS took off and beta didn't take off, was because of the porn industry. There's all these indicators over the course of the years that are just constantly pointing at porn. Everybody's watching porn, literally everyone times 3. And so you go, I think that's become just a lot more of an accepted fact at a certain point in recent years, to where people are more comfortable having a conversation about it publicly.
Does porn have like mountains and valleys? And it's like, are there some like, oh man, this was a bumper porn crop this year. We had so much porn, it was woo.
I
And
think
then
it's
next year's like, oh man, it was just lean porn times.
I think it's only been on the incline because it's easier to produce and easier to access, and it will continue to be.
Well,
So
Sasha Jane
yeah,
throwing her hat right
exactly.
into that ring.
I saw another headline the other day that said um, North Korean military, for whatever reason, is in Russia.
Yeah.
And
They
so
sent troops.
they sent troops. And so it's the first time those troops have ever had access to the internet, and they're gorging porn.
Ooh, of course they are. Yeah. I mean, my travels through the Middle East, you go into internet cafes and a lot of dudes just be sitting there watching porn. Like in the,
Amazing.
man, remember the internet cafe? The day of the internet cafe.
I mean, barely.
Rip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, internet cafe.
Mainly just from traveling
Yeah.
abroad.
Yeah.
Well, this all segues beautifully into our Tools to Live By segment presented by 𝗓𝗡.
Thank you, Vayer.
I know that's an enticing intro, so I won't keep you waiting for long. But 𝗓𝗡 is VAER, and it's 𝗓𝗡.com/surfsplendor to save 15% on your beautiful American-made waterproof guaranteed timepiece that I have right here for you. So check them out for the holiday season. Tools to Live By, gents. I have the most appropriate question for the segment, considering the segment's sponsor. I'd like to start with a show of gratitude and thanks. I'm a late 20s male dating in Los Angeles, and much of the advice and general philosophy that you guys espouse on the show has guided me through the perils of the modern dating scene. And thus it has positioned me for today's story, which I give back to you in an act of reciprocity. Picture it, Manhattan Beach, last month. I met a girl on Hinge. One of her profile pics was of her surfing 𝗟𝗶𝗀𝗏. That made for an easy path of communication. We went on a date shortly thereafter. She was great, totally pretty, successful, fit. We hit it off. We had a couple of dates. I don't know if this ends in marriage or not, or if one should be able to know that within the first couple of dates, but I wanted to know her more. So on date 3, we ended up back at her place. She and I both have the same intention immediately upon entering the apartment. Kissing while standing, she leads me to the bedroom. Her clothes come off rather quickly, all except for one item, her watch. Wearing only her watch, she kisses me, holds the back of my head and neck, and pulls me down to the bed with her, totally nude except for the watch. This isn't a lithe, sleek watch, mind you. It's bulky, silicone-strapped health tracker of some sort. Not a required medical device, but just for running or biking or hiking or something. Even on the date, it seemed a little mismatched to her look and her outfit. More function than fashion, no doubt, but now it is completely out of place. Now, I recognize that this is the ultimate looking of a gift horse in the mouth. Most listeners are probably aghast that I even noticed a watch on a naked and permissive woman. And I'd like the record to reflect that I kept my priorities in focus, never revealed this inner yellow flag. In fact, I didn't even much think about it in the moment other than to take a mental note. It was the next morning where I thought, that's odd to wear a watch while naked, and even odder to wear it during sex. And then on my drive home that morning, lo and behold, the new episode of The Grit dropped, and I thought surely these guys would be the perfect sounding board for this particular and peculiar encounter. So I don't know if I need to phrase this as a question, and it's not exactly a turnoff for me, but is there any reasonable way to have a dialogue about this oddity with the girl, even jokingly? Or perhaps more importantly, is it an indicator of her terrible sense of style and something that I need to consider for the future of our relationship? Or perhaps most important of all, is this entire dialogue in my head reflective of my own illness and a sign that I need to finally visit betterhelp.com/surf? Dating in LA is weird. Thanks for the work, Anonymous.
Anonymous, thank you so much. You've come to the right place. You've come to a place to get both the correct read on this and advice of what to do next. Right, David Lee Scales?
I think so.
So I'm going to say, if this watch was in fact a health tracker, had to have been, right? He mentioned that, like, wasn't a big Casio or like a G-Shock, right?
I'm envisioning like a Garmin style.
Yes.
Yes, tracker. That's what.
And so then I would imagine she is tracking her her vitals during intercourse.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so if she's tracking her vitals during sex, then that's kind of cool-ish. Except I have a problem with the health watch whole thing in general. And I think it's a red flag. Uh, doesn't have to be a ender, but I think you should have a conversation with her, if this is a health tracker, about really leaning into why. Why are you doing this, right?
Yeah.
We had our whoops. Did you do Whoop with me? We did our
Of
Whoop.
course. Yeah.
And if Whoop ever wants to sponsor again and prove me wrong, I'd be happy for it. If, in fact, any health band thing or a ring, any of them want to come on and sponsor the show and show me what I'm missing, then I welcome it with open arms. Until then, I think people are fools for doing this. Not only are you giving your data, your biometric data, totally free to people or companies that get hacked all the time. There's no protection here, right? What do you need to know so bad about your vitals? If it's a health thing, if you are, diabetic, if you are, need to take something, whatever, to track your blood sugar. Diabetic is the only thing I could think that would need this, but I can imagine other health ailments where you'd really need to be on your heart, your blood pressure and all this kind of stuff. Outside of that, let it be a mystery. Let it just be. Like, people thinking I'm getting the best sleep of my life, because no, you're not. You are absolutely, it's not helping you sleep. None of this information is helping you do anything. If it's gamified, that's the only thing that Whoop helped me do, I feel, is the fact that it was going to be public. I thought I better do something physical, and I can't trick it. So the gamification, I understand. To get you to go work out. Anything outside of the gamification, why are you doing that? So I would encourage Dear Anonymous to have a chat at the front end of the relationship. Why are you doing this? What are you getting out of all of this health data you're getting?
So what if you are close to the right answer? You said she's tracking her own activity during sex. What if she's tracking his performance?
That would be amazing. But once again, how is tech going to help at all? Like, where I feel this is the thing, right? We've eroded, human beings, or Western human beings have eroded our sense of direction almost entirely, because we stare at the blue dot on a phone moving on a digital map, right? We no longer have any sense of direction, which this has been scientifically studied. Like, direction in humans is disappearing. It's getting evolved out. If you're going to evolve out your own kind of sixth sense on what makes someone a good lover or not, because you're going to rely on Garmin's advice about it, then what are you doing to yourself?
That is so true. Like, instead of being present in the moment and deciphering my level of pleasure,
Yes.
I'm going to check how fast my heart was beating and for how long of a period of time to tell me that I liked the experience.
Exactly. How much oxygen was I getting during that time? Or how hard was I breathing? All of this kind of stuff. Okay, great. You get a B+, sir, or whatever. Like, without that's what you need. You can't even appreciate it in the moment.
Which also implies to her lover, the writer, I had other data last week that was an A or a
Yeah.
C, and you're just one of many that I'm tracking in comparison with another to plot onto a map to decide who I proceed with.
All of it is problematic, I will
Yeah,
say.
it
And
is.
again, she might have a answer. She might have a reason. Hey, yeah, I'm really whatever. I don't know. That's the thing. I have no idea what a proper reason could be why you're so fixated on tracking your biometric data unless you have a major disease.
Or she's in a profession that I don't know what profession would wear that watch.
That's what
Maybe
I'm
she's a
saying.
marathoner or an air, something like that
The
where
only the only profession I feel that needs to wear that watch is podcasters who are talking about that watch or device because they are getting paid to do so.
so I think we're on the same page with this one. I agree. It's all pointing towards this might not be a good thing for this dude. But I also like your idea of having an upfront conversation. And I would advise to approach it from a funny standpoint, like a
Sure.
humorous standpoint. Like enter with exactly how he brought it up to us is like, hey man, or not hey man, but I've never seen anybody wear a watch naked before. What's that about? Kind of a thing, Because if she can see the humor in it too, then that means you guys are compatible in that way. And the detail is almost irrelevant of her wearing a watch. But the fact that it was silly and you can bring it up to her and she can laugh about it is a great thing.
Also, if you ask her and say, why are you doing this? Why are you like freely giving your biometric data to companies just so you can see how hard your heart's beating or how fast it's beating? And maybe she could if she had like somebody who can realize the error of their ways, if she's like, oh, now
Yeah.
that I got caught up in this trend, I'm taking this thing off. I'm replacing it with a Veer that doesn't actually track my biometric data. Either that, or if she is wildly persuasive, that's also a great attribute in somebody. If she says, you know why? XYZ. And then if Anonymous thinks, well, I'm going to go get a Garmin too. And guess what's staying on even when I'm naked? My Garmin.
Good advice. I think we solved it. Congratulations. Hope we could help. And yeah, Veyer watches. Thank you very much for supporting the work, man.
But also, I think we do definitely need a follow up from Anonymous. I need you to go ahead and ask her what the deal was. Because I need to understand what the deal is.
I'm very curious too. Do you sleep with your watch on?
Yes, I do. I sleep with my watch on.
That's odd.
I sometimes take it off for intimacy. I sometimes leave it on.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the first things I take off when I enter the bedroom. It's like a routine, put the phone on the charger, take the watch off.
I've always loved watches. I mean, when I was a little kid, I would put band-aids on my wrist or a band-aid and draw a watch face on it. Always loved a watch. So I think maybe this is just a personal tick with me.
I remember I don't know if it was a Seinfeld thing, but like socks on while having sex
Yeah,
was
that
a
was a
similar, was it?
Seinfeld
Okay.
thing. But that one, I think I will go a straight up red flag on that. I'm gonna go massive red flag on socks on. That means there's big time lurking insecurity issues, either that or poor circulation, which is going to lead to an early death and or a lot of hospital stays. I'd say socks on during sex, steer far clear.
There's also, I mean, just from a purely aesthetic standpoint, in both scenarios, the socks on, whether you're male or female, and then also the watch on. When I'm envisioning this female that he's talking about with soft lighting, it's kind of dark, you got the curves of the skin. The watch is really wildly out of place aesthetically.
I mean, if it's one of those, like I could totally like a dainty, Rolex or a, smaller Omega, like a fat, like a good high end quality. What am I talking about? Does Veyer make a female watch?
That's a great question.
They
I've not
should if
looked
they
into
don't.
it. Yeah, they
Yeah,
definitely should.
a nice dainty Veyer. Then I'd be like, ooh, look at that. It's just like, yeah, it goes.
It's jewelry at that point.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, hey, let's move on from the X-rated segment of the show, and let's go to a pros in the wild coming in from one of our regularly contributing listeners. TR in the DR, volume up.
Man, I really like
DLS and
You really like what?
watching TR in the DR. If you, dear listener, go, I think it's TR Surfing. I can't remember what his
He has a
Instagram
couple
is.
of different Instagram accounts, but TR Surfing is the one where he posts him surfing.
He rips. He
I know.
like how old is TR in the DR?
60.
And he rips. He's like he's like surfs better than Kelly Slater.
Yeah. And he rides shortboards. I mean, he rides everything. He rides longboards too, but he does rip on a shortboard still.
Yeah.
So TR in the DR has been at it for a long time.
DLS and Chaz. TR from DR with a little pros in the wild for you. You're just mentioning how it's amazing that years later pros remember their brushes with us common folk. And it made me remember a really funny one. I went to Hawaii every winter for over a decade and would always stay in this little plywood room on the beach at 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗃 next to Slippy Hoffman's house. One afternoon I was surfing in front of my place. This bald-headed little grommet dropped in on me and faded me, and then I just kicked out behind him knowing that you got to tread lightly over there. And then he paddled back out, paddled right for me, splashed water in my face, and I just looked away. And then I paddled for another wave, and he came beelining straight for me to drop in on me again. I just let him go. And then a couple years later, I recognized him as Conan Hayes. And fast forward a couple years after that, I was in Peru shooting with Kalani Rob for Jacked video for O'Neill. And he was traveling with Conan Hayes. Kalani and Conan were the sweetest, nicest pro surfers I think I've ever shot with. So kind, always down to shoot, super friendly with everybody we came across. By this time, Conan had the cornrows with the braids, and I felt comfortable enough to say, hey, you know what? You actually dropped in on me at 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗃 Sandbar and splashed water in my face. And he immediately remembered. And he said, no way, that's you? You burned me. We had it on video. Taylor Steele was filming. And we watched it over and over 100 times. We're like, who is this howly kook who thinks he's ripping? And Conan splashed water in his face. Ha, 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 ha. And we laughed it off. It was pretty classic, but that's the story for tonight. Work.
Surfers and their elephant memories is really, it could be a whole segment. Like Laird, Kelly, clearly Conan Hayes, like surfers, for some reason, what is it about it? Like Kelly can pull a wave, and it's not just Kelly. I've seen this a lot, right? Like from a professional surfer who will remember exactly what heat you're mentioning, what section in a movie you're talking about. Like, how do they remember all their things?
I have no idea. Look, it is distinct to professionals.
Yeah, professional surfing. I don't remember.
I don't remember anything.
Yeah, nothing.
I've surfed for 30 years, and I've surfed half the amount of sessions. I mean, 1/10 of the amount of sessions as some of those pros. So they're logging more time and remembering all of it.
I don't get it. That's really, truly, and like something like that, an interaction, splashing water in somebody's face in Hawaii, if you're Conan Hayes, like none of that is particularly out. It wasn't like, oh, then the guy put on a clown wig and, you know, started doing a hula or something. Like there's nothing about that incident you would think that would necessitate remembering.
No, the thing that stuck out to me about that experience is that there's a sense of bravado that you have when you're a young teen who has never been punched in the face that empowers you to act like a total asshole. And I remember feeling it myself when I was that young, and you're like pushing the boundaries of like doing stuff that is, you know, not criminal, but certainly like not acceptable society wise, just to make your friends laugh basically, or just to find out where the boundary is. And those exact things are the most obnoxious thing for a 40-year-old male who's stressed out about life to experience.
That's the truth. That is the truth. Like when I see, and I've caught myself now, and I no longer rankle, but like, teen boys on e-bikes in the pack, like, just driving like animals through, quiet streets or whatever. Like where I used to really, I was just like, you kids, I was Clint Eastwood about it. But now I think, yeah, well, that's what you do at that age.
So what do you do as the adult though? Like Tony obviously turned another cheek because he realizes Hawaii is kind of a different area where he does. Conan Hayes has uncles who are going to punch you for Conan. So there's
Yeah.
nothing you could do about it. But even if you can beat up 8 12-year-olds, maybe not 10, but even if you could beat up 8 12-year-olds, you're not going to. They can completely be making fun of you, making your life miserable, blocking your car, whatever it is. And there's no version where you get out and start throwing punches.
There was a version for me a couple years ago. I
What
literally,
was it?
uh, there's these kids ripping around the street. They're probably 13, 14, probably. Ripping around on e-bikes with an airsoft gun.
Mm.
And they shot the wind. I was driving, and they shot the windshield of the car, and up the street. So I calmly turned around, drove. They were kind of trapped in a dead end. I just parked. I grabbed one kid by the shirt, kicked the other one's bike over, and at this point, they like three of them just went booking off. But I kept the one by the shirt. The one by the shirt now was just weeping, like he was weeping, and I was just like, had balled up, and then was just kicking all the bikes over until they all crashed. And then I was like, you don't do that anymore, kids. Like, threw the kid down and went on my way. But
Were
I'm
you
real lucky I didn't get in trouble for that.
were you operating on blind rage?
No, I wasn't. I mean, I felt pretty calm. I was just like, you don't do that. Like, and so this would be my advice on this kind of thing outside of Hawaii, of course, right? Hawaii has different rules. But if something is done directly to you, kid to adult, I think it's on you to calmly address it, right? If you look away, like if these kids are just ripping around shooting air guns in general, it would have been annoying, or airsoft guns, it would have been annoying, but they purposefully shot my windshield. So now it was on, and I feel I haven't seen him ever since. This was years ago. Never seen him again. Never seen him riding or shooting. So I
Yeah.
feel like, well, the lesson was learned.
Also, in that scenario, I don't know where the boundary is on physicality of what you can do to that
I
kid.
just grabbed his shirt. I never grabbed, like, I grabbed the neck of his shirt and
Yeah.
just held it real tight.
So that's your community. And so you have a responsibility as an elder to check the kids who are acting out of line in the community. And so I think you did the right thing by not letting them get away with it. You have to check them somehow. Again, it's up for debate on where the boundary is of how to check them. But
I mean, I should have gotten so busted for that, though. Like, even kicking the bikes over, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, they must have been so worried that they never told their parents, because I was fully expecting a parent visit and fully expecting that I would explain myself. I'd say,
Yeah,
your kids
yeah.
were driving around shooting cars. Like, that's
Right.
that crosses the boundary.
You know that Lazy Acres in Encinitas?
Yeah.
I went there earlier this week. I was driving by. If I'm ever driving by at lunch, I go in there and grab a sushi burrito. Fantastic, dude.
Good to know.
Yeah, really good. So anyways, as I was pulling into the parking lot, there was a couple of, let's say 13 to 15-year-olds, slowly meandering through the parking lot, so much so that I have to like slow my car in order to pull into that row to park. And one of them had been eating something, and he had a black plastic fork. And while he was passing me in front of the car, he just threw the plastic fork onto the ground as they were moving to the vehicle that they were going to. And I tell you what,
Blind rage.
I got the blind rage a little bit. I mean, not fully. I got like 50%. So it wasn't blind, but it was like, mother effer. Like, I need to tell that kid not to litter. You know what I mean? But I didn't. I ultimately didn't
Yep.
say anything. And I was just like, it irks me so bad to see somebody do something. Again, in this community, in this civilization that we live in, we need to all be, we need to just operate by certain rules. That is outside of the rules. But I'm not his parent. I shouldn't be, I like didn't know what to do. Ultimately, now that I'm saying it, I think I should have said something. I don't know how I would have said it, but I should have said something.
So the problem here is if you say, hey, pick it up, right? I've done
Yeah.
this before. And he doesn't pick it up. Now all of a sudden there's a standoff that's where do you pivot from there, right? You've got to give yourself a way to handle it. When I've done this kind of stuff, typically I'll try to be so with the scary with the voice that they just jump and react, that their first instinct is not going to be one of defiance. They'll wish later that they were defiant, but their first instinct will be to run and grab it, and then whatever. Once again, once you say pick it up, and if they say no, you pick it up, then you're stuck, right?
Yeah. I think shame is a good motivator. And so maybe in this scenario, I could have just like rolled up slow, rolled down the window down, been like, hey, dude, it's a fucking dick move to
Yeah.
litter. Like, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody something along those lines.
There's something, but I do feel though that things need to be said to let,
Yeah.
in general. And I think to let the blind rage take over. But once again, and again, Hawaii is different, but if that's how kids learn, that's how you learn the boundary line,
Yeah,
is somebody
exactly.
finally says no, right? And then you remember that, okay, because I think most people, I would say, uh, don't like confrontation, right? They
Agreed.
don't
Yeah.
like the feeling of, they like running around and going wild in the streets, but then, okay, now this led to a confrontation. I don't like the way that makes me feel. And then they have that marker inside of them, right? When I push it this far, I don't like the way that makes me feel.
It's a good point. I remember when I was in that phase of being a teenager and pushing the boundaries, I was surfing like 61st Street, Newport Beach with my buddy, and an older dude, kind of local dude, burned me on a wave, and I kicked my board out like
Yeah.
towards him because I had seen surf videos where people did that,
Yeah.
And so I was like, it looks cool when people do that. I'm going to do that. And he kicked out of the wave, came at me, like rushed me like a bulldog, just like, you mother effer, like, and he got to the point, I don't think he got in my face, but he like came at me hot and heavy like that and was yelling at me. And I fully backed down and freaked out because he was right. It was a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
I was only
Dangerous.
doing it. Yeah, it was dangerous. Now, the reality is I didn't kick him at him. I didn't kick it at him. I was not brave enough or wild enough to actually try to hurt the guy. I was just trying to like look cool in front of my friend and hope that guy who's on the wave didn't see it probably. But he did see it and he came, bull rushed me and put me in my place basically. And I never did it again.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I think is we don't need to go overboard here, but I think like when, especially as a dude, right? As a man, like when the little men are acting up, how are they going to know? They're going to know half the time, I think, in this day and age, especially, discipline is probably not a priority. And especially in like wealthy beachside communities, this is where it's worse. If like, I was in some poor community and there was the poor kids like throwing rocks at a silo or something, I'd be like, okay, I mean, cool
Right.
kids,
Yeah.
like, what are you gonna do? But it's like rich, entitled kids who don't have any discipline and clearly aren't getting disciplined at home. I think those are the ones who need the little surf justice in their lives.
Agreed. Well, this is again quite the perfect segue into our next call coming in from the Gulf Coast of Florida.
Hey, this is Chris from Florida, the Gulf, calling for the grit. This is a pros in the wild, not like any other pros in the wild. I'm sure this happens everywhere. It gets warm. Every kooky kid that's got a board in the garage can go surfing because they've got a board in the garage. They're not surfers, but, they're free Americans. Anyway, it's really bad on the Gulf Coast. Hurricane hits, no school, no work, kids run wild. Kids and kooks, like grown adults, that just grab a board and go down. Anywho, one such hurricane swell in Naples Pier Not very strong, waist to chest high waves, but not a lot of power. Paddle out, I'm on a longboard and catching some waves, and I see a guy, and I'm like, oh wow, that guy looks like pretty jacked. Like, what's that guy? What's his story? Get a little closer, and I'm like, oh shit, that's professional Muay Thai kickboxing world champion 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏. This is like no regular dude. This guy's like one punch knockout master. And the thing is, all these kooks and hipsters and idiots on their longboards and everything are just burning this guy. They have no idea who he is. They have no idea. They just burned one of the baddest people on the planet Earth. I found it to be kind of hilarious, but like he was riding a stand-up paddleboard, and it's with golf, so there's a lot of stand-up paddleboards and surfboards and all that bullshit. But I just struck a conversation. I was like, "Hey man, you want to catch a couple waves on this, longboard?" And he goes, "Oh no, I brought the wrong board down here. This is like for like Indo or Costa Rica." The guy surfs all over the world. He's been all over the world with his pro fighting career. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. So anyway, my pros in the wild of a non-pro surfer just trying to get some waves. All right, cheers, boys. Keep up the work.
Be careful who you pick a fight with.
Be careful for sure. I mean, especially those guys, the quiet ones. But those guys, like a guy like Cosmo would know better. He would know probably also, this goes to the beach. I'm going to punch you. You're going to die. And then I'm going to get arrested. And that's not going to be cool.
I don't even think he has the desire to punch anybody at that point.
No.
Like once you've done it all, you don't really have a desire to do the least of it all.
Yeah. Well, and not that my situation is similar to a universally respected fighter. I really worked on tamping, or not worked on it, recognize, the blind rage was funny for a minute, but it's not funny anymore. Like aging out of that blind rage, even if you see the kid throw the plastic fork, right? Or whatever. Like, yes, addressing it, but without the rage is all of a sudden way more powerful. When you are calmly saying, "Hey, pick it up," but you're not gonna take it to the mat. I think that is also, I don't know, has more gravitas behind it. I think when people see you're twitchy mad, they know, oh, this guy's either a full-on wild card or kind of weak. I think if my fork throwing made his eyes pop out of his head, that's what I feel when I see people rage over nothing. I think, okay, you got issues, and you're not, because if you were actually strong, and I'm talking about strong, both fortitude and physically, all of it. If you were strong, you would not be freaking out right now. You'd have control.
Completely. Yeah. Your blind rage freak out automatically alerts anybody, not only the person you're yelling at, but everybody else around, that you've got an issue of your own.
Yeah. You're not a serious person.
I was driving back in the morning the other day. There's a park near our house, and there's always these two women who set up like a Jehovah's Witness little stand.
Oh yeah.
Like
I said,
they've got
those guys, man, that is a job. That's at every park.
Dude, they're there at like 6 a.m.
Yeah. Have you ever seen one person chatting them up?
No.
Yeah.
But the other day, so I see him every day, but the other day, directly across the street was a dude on a bicycle, and he was yelling at them, "You're going to hell."
Oops.
And the women were ignoring him. He's like, "Hey, ladies, to get their attention. And you're going to hell." And I was like, dude, those women are there every day. They're not bothering anybody.
No.
What are you doing?
Did you feel about having an interaction with him?
Yeah, I was driving, there was no possibility for me unless I wanted to pull over.
Yeah.
But it did cross my mind of to protect them almost is what it was. Just hey, asshole, chill. But my thought with the Cosmo thing is, I don't know when I saw this or where, but kids who do jujitsu, at a young age, or probably any martial art, I think the thing was about jujitsu, but they're much more in control of their emotions and ultimately don't have violent outbursts.
Yeah.
Once you're engaged in that level of, whatever, maybe that is the outlet, but it also allows you to regulate and to understand your own emotions And then when you're in the classroom environment and you're 8 years old and somebody steals your puzzle, you know how to handle that. You don't
Yeah.
snap.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. Also, what in like knowing what's going to happen, I think a lot of kids get out of control because they've never been hit, they've never been in a fight, they have zero idea how any of that stuff feels. And also, if you're able to, in jujitsu class or whatever, you're fighting somebody, but there's no emotion attached to the fight, right? Like
Right.
you're physically fighting someone that you have no beef with, that you're both training, right? And it's great.
The
Where
equivalent of a chess match sitting across the board from somebody.
Yep. But it looks like a fight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my main takeaway from all of those two stories or calls is how silly it is to get in a physical fight over a wave.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, even the times that I look back on the times that I've gotten raged in the lineup, just you effer. Uh, but I don't know. I still think about it and you get burned and it's infuriating and you get burned by somebody because I think it's so infuriating, but because it's either somebody is uh willfully being totally selfish, which is an annoying thing to have to deal with, or it's somebody being super clueless who's refusing to learn. Like I've so many times, so countless, how many times wave pops up, you're in position, good looking down the line, you start to drop in, there's somebody 20 feet down the shoulder who's staring at you dropping in and continuing their paddle. It's not like their head is turned away, that they've given, they're looking at you, paddling in, slowly popping to their feet. Like what was going on in your brain? You're looking at me do this thing.
I know. I'm starting to feel the rage myself.
Me too.
But when I say how silly it is, the reality is we're all having recreational time in a very, lucky scenario. A lot of people never see the ocean in their lifetime, and here we are playing in it. And so let's have some perspective.
Getting mad.
Okay, well, good work. Let's go to commercial break and we'll be back with Barrel or Not. HelloFresh.com/FreeSurf. The holiday season is upon us, and I know I'm going to be spending tons of time in the kitchen cooking for family get-togethers, so I definitely want to keep our weeknight meals low stress and hassle-free. And this is where HelloFresh serves such a need in our home. They deliver farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients with seasonal recipes direct to our door. Very little chopping, very little prep. Just quickly assemble the recipes, and we're usually eating within 20 minutes. Also, with all of the overindulging I know I'm going to be doing these next couple of months, I'm switching my HelloFresh menu preference from classic meals to a calorie smart meal plan. And that interface on HelloFresh makes it super easy to adjust those menu preferences from week to week. And there's 50 different recipes each week. So there's always plenty of appealing options and variety to keep us happy. We cut back on our grocery shopping. We cut back on the waste. I save time, I save the anxiety of planning, and believe it or not, we save money with HelloFresh. That is why it's America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/FreeSurf to sign up. We'll get you 10 free meals applied across 7 boxes. That's for new subscribers only, and it varies by plan, but 10 free great meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FreeSurf. It's America's #1 meal kit for a reason, and in fact, I've been using it since 2017. I'm a fan. Go to HelloFresh.com/FreeSurf. All right, Chaz, welcome back.
So good.
You want to hear a blast from the past?
Sure do.
Okay. Remember our beloved and dearly departed drummer Dave?
Yes. Drummer Dave.
The drummer Dave saga carries on from the grave.
How does it carry from beyond the pale?
Beyond, just
or the
strictly
veil
due to
or the whatever it is.
Well, both. Strictly due to my poor organizational skills is how it continues to show itself.
Yes.
In my effort to organize emails or calls that come in, I have a bunch of different folders on my computer for this podcast. And sometimes I see themes emerging with stories and I'm like, okay, create a new folder, put them in that, or there's a theme that can be a show later or something like that. But inevitably, I'm not very good at it. So stuff gets lost.
Drummer Dave.
So here I was, opened an old folder, and whose voice is it but Drummer Dave? And it's as timely as ever. Drummer Dave's question is as timely as ever.
You got to share with the listener real quick who maybe came on after the Drummer Dave. Share a little bit about Drummer Dave.
I mean, to be honest, I don't even remember all the details of the arc. Drummer Dave messaged in a couple of times, had very fun stories. I think one of them was visiting a whorehouse,
Perpetually funny.
Yeah, like really, and very honest. Again, talking about, would you admit that you watched porn last night? Drummer Dave admitting it, you know what I mean? And so, and I don't want to misspeak of the dead, but yeah, one of them was a whorehouse. One of them was Waikiki with his buddies who had like said something offensive to the girl, and then they ran up to their apartment, and then the girl's boyfriend came up and they like pulled a fire alarm to escape this scenario. There was these funny stories that kept popping up. Then we didn't hear from him for a year or two or three, and then he wrote in to say that he had gotten cancer and was in the hospital, and gave us that journey. And the story that he told in that was that he was listening to our podcast throughout it, and that was part of his recovery. And so then he planned a trip to Hawaii, and that was, he was revisiting Hawaii after the cancer journey and all that sort of stuff. So we had all this back and forth over the course of a couple of years. Great character. Never met him in person, but great character on the show. And then we didn't hear from him for a period of time. And a friend of his called in to let us know that Drummer Dave had passed. And the friend of his had heard Drummer Dave talk about our podcast, but never had listened to our podcast before, but I think had gotten access to Drummer Dave's email and had seen some of the exchanges that we had had with Drummer Dave and realized that there was a bit of sentimentality connected. And so that's why he took the initiative to call us and let us know that Drummer Dave had passed.
So Drummer Dave from beyond the grave for today's Barrel or Not.
Yeah. And this call, I found it in a folder. It was dated October 20th, 2021. So
Amazing.
now more than 4 years old. And here is what he has to inquire about for Barrel or Not.
David Lee, Chaz, how you doing? Drummer Dave here. Hey, I got a potential Barrel or Not for you. Now that there's a little crispness in the morning air, and we've had a few windy days that are kind of chilly, the women folk have started their yearly tradition of wearing yoga pants with Ugg boots. Barrel or nah? I'm going to give it a huge barrel. So get barrel.
And when I played this, I remembered specifically the reason I never played it in 2021.
Why?
I thought it was a little inappropriate for us to be commenting on
women's fashions. But I think we can do it now in 2024. I feel that the climate is changed. The temperature has dropped. We're okay now.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. That's why I played it too. Not
so
only for the nostalgia.
in 2021, I can't remember what I was feeling about yoga pants specifically then. I probably wasn't still not liking them. 2024, I loathe, and let me say this once again, loathe technical kind of fabrics, right? These are not to be worn out. There's to be worn in yoga, in the gym, if you're running laps around your house or around the neighborhood or whatever. There's time and a place for technical gear. Now, the problem, this disease, the yoga pant disease on women, has seeped into the male segment of the market, where I get served up ads on Insta or, see them. I don't know where else I am, but I see regularly ads for more and more comfortable pants for men, right?
Yeah.
Where this thing right here looks like kind of a suit, but 5-way stretch, and we got, comfortable waistband. Like, stop being so damn comfortable, everyone. Like, we don't need to be like, it's so comfortable. It's like, basically, I'm a tiny little newborn baby again. It's like, that's literally stop emasculating yourself, man. Stop just seeking, I need more and more comfort. My pants are constricting. I need more comfort. So I'm going 0 barrel on anything that has 4-way stretch.
So I agree with you. And I think Drummer Dave was referring to the aesthetic of females in yoga pants.
And a different time too. It hadn't jumped the shark back then.
Yeah, and I understand his point, but I'm with you on this one where yoga pants, the most unlikely place for them to be worn is in a yoga studio at this point.
Yes.
99% of yoga pants sold never see a yoga studio. And so it's completely jumped the shark. Where it used to be, this is an indicator that I do yoga, and now I'm showcasing that to the greater world. Maybe I stopped at the grocery store on the way home from, and then that's no longer the case.
No.
Now it is the universal pant that never sees the yoga studio. So for that reason alone, I'm going no barrel. He's also mentioned yoga pants with Uggs, which I don't know if that's a specific to certain regions of the world. Um, it is a look. It's a seasonal look. I gotta say, uh, I don't think Uggs are a fashionable thing to do, but there is nothing better than going to check either the waves or go get coffee in the morning on a cold morning.
Pair of Uggs.
Then the Uggs are the ultimate, the best, the most comfortable, the warmest. But as soon as that sun comes up, you want to switch your footwear.
That's the truth. There's a couple reasons for that too. No foot ever gets sweatier than in the belly of an Ugg when it starts to get warm outside. Like becomes a swamp down there, which you really do want to avoid.
It's also the clamminess or the wetness of your foot cannot get into the Ugg after the surf. So I'm okay with wearing the Uggs to the beach, bring a pair of sandals or whatever else for the drive home.
Yeah. Good
All
call.
right,
But
solved it.
no barrel on tech pant in general. I'm just going across the board, no barrel. And stop
Yeah.
serving me comfortable pant ads, please.
Well, thank you, Drummer Dave, for your submission. Second barrel or not comes off of last week's sleeping with a surfboard. I got a lot of people chiming in going, look, I've never slept with a surfboard, but let me tell you, that surfboard lives in my bedroom. Ritual, first night of getting aboard, I put it in my bedroom. Other people saying I always have a surfboard in my bedroom.
Did you get
barrel or
did you
not,
get
keeping.
did you get the one the guy who licked his surfboard?
No.
Oh yeah, somebody told me I don't sleep with it, but every new surfboard I get, I lick it like you used to as a kid, lick something that you didn't want another kid to have, like to show possession. So every surfboard he gets, he says his first thing he does is he licks his surfboard, which I liked
Wow.
that one. Yeah.
And if you get a brand new surfboard from the factory itself, it's got lots of foam dust or sanding
Yep.
resin dust on it.
Vitamins.
So keeping a surfboard in your bedroom, Chaz, barrel or not?
Great one. And I'm gonna go no barrel. I'm sorry, dear listeners who do this, and I'll caveat it. If you are single and or live in a studio apartment and or live in a one bedroom apartment, but the living area, you're not going to throw your surfboard out there, then totally fine. If it's some kind of functional thing because there's just no other room for it.
Yeah.
But if there's anywhere else for your surfboard to go, take your surfboard out of the bedroom. I mean, it's weird in there. It's an awkward place for a surfboard to be.
Well, the funny thing is that I had a number of these come in from adult males who I know are married who
Yeah.
said, and I didn't even know this was a thing, but a number of, I'd say 4 or 5 of them specifically said on the first night, I keep it in the bedroom just because I'm excited to see it. I want to look at it, and my wife has accepted it.
I can get that. I can get behind bringing it up to the bedroom for, whatever, for like that little emotional thing, but it should not stay in the bedroom.
I know. Yeah, I guess I can give the caveat to the one night stand, but I'm going no barrel. No barrel on having your surfboard in your bedroom. The other thing is, I understand coveting something and really being excited about it. And then when I get it, I want to look at it. But the bedroom is a holy space, let's say. And it doesn't need to be infused with all of your interests in life.
Yeah. Here's a problem though also about taking your board into your bedroom. Most bedrooms are not the first room in the house. Most bedrooms are tucked back somewhere. You're really, really, really begging to ding your brand new surfboard while you're taking it to the bedroom. There's almost always a hallway, probably a corner, possibly some stairs, possibly stairs with a cut back on it. There's so many places to ding your surfboard getting it into the bedroom, and nothing almost except for kids throwing plastic, utensils on the ground is as aggravating as dinging a brand new board. Before you've waxed it, before you've paddled it out, to just clumsily take the corner too close and
Yeah.
bonk.
God forbid it's a longboard. There's no
Yeah.
chance you're navigating that.
Nope.
All right. Well, solve that one too. No barrel. Final barrel or not comes from friend of the show, 𝗖𝗂𝗿𝗶𝗯𝗲. Shay says, I think I have a potential barrel and off for you. As newish parents, our daughter just turned 2. My wife and I are spending each day fully pinned, ping-ponging between taking care of the kiddo and our individual work responsibilities. In our pre-kid life, one of our favorite things to do was go to the local independent theater. Shout out to the Palm Theater in SLO, the first solar-powered movie theater in America. Alternatively, use the projector in our own mini theater experience at home and get transported to an alternate world via the magic art of film for a few hours. I love the way a movie can feel immersive and experimental, and clocking in at an average of 2 hours, it feels like just the right amount of time for a nice mental break from whatever is preoccupying me at the moment. These days, however, dates to go out to see a movie are infrequent, so more often than not, we find ourselves at home trying to start a movie in bed on a laptop screen at 9 at night after doing the bedtime routine with the kiddo, picking up the house, and inevitably falling asleep within 15 minutes of starting it. Then we'll watch this movie in 15-minute increments over the course of a week. My wife is fine with this as she compares it to watching episodes of a TV show. However, I am opposed. To me, the immersive, transportive elements of watching a good movie are totally absent in this viewing experience. Or, of course, if we choose to forego movies altogether, if we're unable to view them in their entirety in a single sitting, then we would probably only see about 2 movies a year for the next 10 to 15 years, or 5 to 10 years. And our entertainment options will be limited to bite-sized format only. This seems, while not quite tragic, maybe suboptimal is the right word. So barrel or not, watching films in 15-minute increments. Keep work, Shay.
Thank you so much for the journey, Shay. I didn't know where I was going to be. Okay, is this like taking your kid to the theater, barrel or not? Is this, which I will say, Shay, just FYI, I got my kid uh onto watching movies as early as I could in the theater. Like, I think the first movie she watched, it was she must have been 3 probably, and took her to Big Hero 6. It was a Disney movie.
Yeah.
And she sat and she cried at the appropriate times and she laughed, and then it was like, you teach the kid to have a film length attention span in the theater, where you don't have to, I think people are so scared of, oh, what if my kid gets antsy or what? No, they're going to sit and watch the movie for 2 hours. It's not an unreasonable ask to be entertained for 2 hours and not need more fidgeting or entertainment or something else. Like, teach your kids young and to like sit through a movie, because you can really broaden that out, right? Like, we've watched great films now, but onto his specific point, I say no barrel on the 15 minute increments. There's plenty of good shows. Maybe it's time that you just need to start watching shows
Yeah.
during this, because this period is going to come to an end, right? The kid at 4 will have an attention span, and you can, if you choose, start sharing classic film with them and watching a lot of film, right? But in the meantime, I think movies were made to be watched start to finish. They weren't made to be sampled. And I think respecting the art is important.
Totally agree with you on this one. I had an epiphany like 20 years ago, which was, you only get to watch a great movie for the first time once.
Yes.
Because I found a movie or two that I absolutely loved. And I don't remember when this epiphany was, but let me just say it could have been American Beauty. Like, I loved the movie American Beauty.
Yes.
And then I bought the DVD and I watched it and I loved it each subsequent time. But I remember feeling like, man,
I don't have that initial feeling.
That first time watching it, where it just unfolded in front of me and I had no idea what or where it was going, was magic. The problem is you have to watch 30 duds for every one that is actually like worth, really having that experience. But this tragic thing will be that 𝗂, over the course of 5 or 10 years, will have a couple of majestic films that he
That he
does
watched
not
in-
do justice to.
That he watched like eating a bag of Skittles.
And so he should, knowing that, hold all those off and just plan some time 10 or 15 years from now where you're going to binge and you're going to really indulge in those things. And the movie will be 10 years old by then, but at least you did it right when you did it.
But it doesn't need to be 10 or 15 years. Let's be frank. His kid
Agreed.
is 3, he said, right? Or 2?
Two.
2. It's like 2 years is all you
Yeah.
need to hold off, right? As a 4-year-old, you can share films, with your child, or also you're not going to be ping-ponging around back and forth so much. You'll, as at 4, easy babysitter come over, or easy play dates start to happen, or then slumber parties start to happen. Your time becomes a lot less constricted, like real quick.
Totally. And my concern for 𝗂 as well is everything in our modern society is training your kid to not have an attention span,
Yes.
training her to have a short attention span. So you forcing her to go to that movie when she was 3 was fighting back against
Yes.
modern tech. 𝗂 is giving into modern tech. 𝗂 is getting sucked into the shorter attention span by doing that. And so he needs to
Yeah,
stave that
𝗂.
off as well.
Yeah, 𝗂. Be a man. Grow a spine, 𝗂.
Exactly, 𝗂. All right. Well, glad we could help. Good work today, Chaz. Anything else going on?
I'm trying to think. There's the Laguna Film Festival this weekend, isn't it? This weekend?
I don't think they're doing a film fest, but they're definitely showing Water Brother.
Yeah, Water Brother is up in Laguna, whilst David Lee is going to be in beautiful, sunny Florida.
So I'm going to miss it. 𝗬𝗏𝗰𝘰 will be there in Laguna at the Rivian Theater to screen his film. So go. I saw him posting from the La Paloma event. Like, it was a who's who of people that were there.
I was there. I was counted amongst the who's who.
I know. Amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
So don't miss that opportunity in Laguna next weekend. 𝗣𝗀𝘀𝗁.com, of course. And then you're at Trash Pros. And we'll be back on Noble Rod on Monday, I suppose.
We sure will be.
Sweet. I look forward to it. I will see you there. Until then, of course, this is David Scales signing off.
Keep work.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sweet.